forms for the society to subsist, right? So what happened in the First Intifada? In the 80s, the entire territory was completely occupied by the Israeli military. It's not like today, where you have a Palestinian Authority that has some degree of control over specific areas of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and now, of course, Hamas controls internally Gaza, but none of the airspace, water, or the perimeter, so it's still imprisoned. But in the 80s, there was no such a thing even as a Palestinian. This word was not recognized. Israelis did not recognize that there was such a thing. They were all Arabs who could go to Jordan, and that was where they should go to. So these people were completely occupied, and you couldn't have any symbols of nationalism even. So there's footage that I would love at some point to do something with, which is of this kid who is being forced. There's like an Israeli border police officer pointing a gun at him, and he's scrubbing this smiley face. And you don't understand why he's having to scrub this smiley face off the wall that's been painted until you see that the colors of the smiley face are the colors of the national flag of Palestine, and they're trying to claim a sense of nationality. And what they did in the First Intifada is that they rose up and they refused to participate in the Israeli civil and military administration. Because at the time, the police forces, the mail, the schools were all run by the Israeli government. The Palestinians then refused to go to work, refused to participate in any of that, and set up alternative forms of government. And I don't want to give percentages because that's silly, but the vast majority of the actions and the essence and the values of the First Intifada were all basic nonviolent strategies of boycott, of refusal, of sit-ins, of setting up alternative structures. What we saw abroad were stone throwings and Molotov cocktails. What was going on was an entire revolution of a society with self-reliance, asserting itself and refusing to give power to their oppressors. For Palestinians who lived through it, they did nonviolence. And now, what some of them will say is that we did it and it didn't work. What many Palestinians refute that with, and I completely agree with them, is that not at all. It worked. Palestinians are considered Palestinians today. There is such a thing as that, as an international recognition, because of the First Intifada. What failed were negotiations, were the Oslo Accords, because the First Intifada led to Israel being forced to get into the negotiation table. The PLO was accepted as the official negotiators for the Palestinians. Then they went into the Oslo Accords, and it was that mess that, I don't know if you know, but if you want, there's amazing books to explain how screwed up the entire process was. So what failed was those negotiations, but the strategy worked. And so many Palestinians, this is what they're trying to say back, that was the most successful thing that we have done as a community so far. So let's repeat that. And so these local leaders, like Ayad Morad was one of the leaders of the First Intifada, and he's currently trying to forge a national movement out of this disparate local resistances that are going on in villages right now. So he's really trying to think strategically about what are the ways that you make this into a big movement to really create independence, a state, and that lives peacefully side by side with the Israeli state.
I was there during the First Intifada, and I just spent the first 9 months working on my first film, Roger Me, and then went over there for a month and started recording what I witnessed. And I've never released that or done anything with it, but I still have it from 23 years. I'll share it with you. But in a month there, I never saw a Molotov cocktail being thrown. I saw maybe a dozen stones, not a single bullet, no suicide bombing, nothing but mass nonviolence resistance, and it being crushed by the Israeli soldiers. And I'll never personally forget my own experiences with those soldiers and the rubber bullets that were whizzing by my head. Next. Yes. Yeah.